Are you being softened to death by pleasure? Aldous Huxley warned that a society enthralled by comfort forfeits courage, attention, and depth, its citizens reduced to passive receivers of sensation. Today's screens, feeds, and micro-pleasures are engineered to hijack attention, rewire reward, and hollow out ambition. Promise. You will learn Huxley's diagnosis, the psychological mechanics of the modern pleasure trap, and 5 precise counter-rituals to reclaim focus, appetite, and will. Pleasure rarely arrives like a storm. It does not come crashing through the doors of your fortress, demanding attention with sharpened claws. Instead, it seeps. It seeps in drops. A scroll here, a notification there, a taste of sweetness, a flicker of color on a glowing screen. The trap never identifies itself as such. That is why it works. The first truth you must accept is that the machine of modern seduction is designed to remain invisible while it eats you alive. Step back and see it. The seduction machine is not one device, not one platform, not one screen. It is a sprawling, decentralized architecture of triggers. Every sound, every vibration in your pocket, every flash of red in your periphery has been calibrated by designers who understand something most men ignore. You are not rational. You are programmable. The machine feeds on one thing: your attention. Like a parasite, it must remain unnoticed as it burrows deeper. It uses soft weapons, not swords, not whips. It uses the constant dripping of comfort. The Roman poet Juvenal warned of bread and circuses. A distracted crowd is easier to command. The seduction machine is the digital circus of the modern world. It offers endless spectacle, endless bread. But with each offering, it sharpens its hooks. Pause. Look at your day. How many times have you surrendered without knowing? 10 minutes stolen by a feed, 5 minutes dissolved in a glowing notification. An entire hour consumed by a carousel of meaningless pleasures. The machine celebrates every surrender. Because the trap is cumulative, a single indulgence costs little. 1,000 indulgences rot your will. Huxley understood this long before you were born. In Brave New World, his society did not fall under tyranny of pain but of pleasure. Citizens were drowned in soma, sweet, numbing relief, until resistance itself became unthinkable. Do you not see? Your soma is here, not in pills, in endless flickers of novelty, in curated distractions, in infinite scroll. Understand the mechanics. At its core, the machine runs on loops: trigger, action, reward, trigger, action, reward. You are the rat pressing the lever. The rat believes he is exploring, but he is not. He is trapped in a cage of loops, and every loop carves a groove in the mind, a path of least resistance, until the brain itself cannot escape the circuit. Pause again. Realize this: the machine does not require your full surrender to destroy you. It requires only fragments: 5 minutes here, a glance there, small fractures in your day. Because discipline is not broken by one violent blow. It is eroded by sand. Each grain wears down the stone of your focus until it collapses. The architects of the machine are not villains in the traditional sense. They are engineers, merchants, optimizers. They study psychology with clinical precision. They read the same sources you may admire: Pavlov, Skinner, Kahneman. But where you read to understand, they read to weaponize. Their purpose is not your flourishing. It is your submission. Every design choice, the curve of an icon, the shade of a red badge, the infinite scroll with no stopping cue, exists because you are predictable, predictably weak, predictably curious, predictably bored. These engineers know you better than you know yourself. They study your hesitation, your eye movement, your pause time, and then they sharpen their blades. Here lies the true seduction. The machine never threatens. It never warns. It whispers. Just one more glance. Just one more taste. Just one more check. That is why men who fall into the trap do not fight. They comply willingly. With a smile. Pause. Breathe. See it clearly. You are prey, walking into a velvet-lined cage. Now, recognize the enemy. Give it a name. Not phone. Not app. Call it the machine. See its face when you scroll. Hear its voice when you check. Naming the adversary strips it of invisibility. Nietzsche wrote, "The most dangerous enemies are those you do not see." You now see. The cost of remaining blind is not trivial. It is not wasted time. It is the erosion of ambition. It is the dulling of appetite. It is the softening of the edge that separates the man who commands from the man who drifts. Drifting is death in slow motion. You are not dead because the machine killed you. You are dead because you surrendered piece by piece until nothing sharp remained. Take one action, just one. For 48 hours, log every moment the machine takes you, every scroll longer than 30 seconds, every reflexive check. Write it. Do not trust memory, it lies. Write it, and you will see the cage drawn in ink. You will see the machine's fingerprints across your day. And when you see, you will know, this is not innocent. This is not harmless. This is war for your mind. The seduction machine thrives on invisibility. You have made it visible. The chapter closes here. You have named the machine. You have glimpsed its anatomy, the loops, the triggers, the whispers. From this point forward, you are no longer prey that walks blind. You are the hunter who sees the trap. Name the machine, then you can disable its switches. You were told that pleasure is harmless, that it is just a taste, just a small indulgence, just a little escape from the weight of the world. That is the lie. The truth is far sharper. Every pleasure has a cost, and the price is always extracted in advance. This is the contract you never signed but live under. A contract not written on paper, but etched in the very circuits of your brain. It is the dopamine contract, and every man who ignores it pays with his strength. Pause. Imagine the signature you never placed. You wake up, you reach for the glowing device at your side, you flood your system with quick stimulation. The contract is renewed, line by line, clause by clause. Your brain agrees, short bursts of pleasure will be rewarded immediately. Long pursuits of discipline will be punished with boredom and resistance. The architects of the seduction machine do not need to enslave you with chains. They enslave you with this contract. Because the brain is not neutral. It bends, it adapts, it rewires. Every indulgence tilts the scales. You are teaching your nervous system to expect candy, not conquest. This is the cruelty. Dopamine does not care about truth. It cares only about signals. Whether the signal is a scroll or a victory in battle, it registers the same way. A flicker of chemical release. But the machine has hacked the pathway. Instead of victory, instead of fire, instead of hard-won conquest, you are rewarded with images, illusions, fragments of pleasure detached from reality. You are paid in counterfeit currency. Understand this. When you flood your system with counterfeit dopamine, the cost is not just wasted time, it is recalibration. The baseline shifts. The pursuit of long, arduous goals feels heavier. Hard work tastes bitter. Discipline feels impossible. Because your brain has learned a shortcut. Why endure fire when you can drink sugar? Pause here. Look at the consequence. A man who cannot endure boredom cannot endure war. A man who cannot delay pleasure cannot hold power. A man who cannot govern his own cravings will never govern anything else. He is a servant dressed as a free man. He speaks of freedom, but every glance at his screen betrays his leash. Huxley knew this would come. He understood that the future would not be ruled by iron fists, but by velvet pleasures, that men would not revolt against tyranny if they were drowning in sweet illusions. Pleasure is more efficient than punishment. Pleasure rewires faster than fear. Every notification, every indulgence, every cheap surge of dopamine is another clause signed in the invisible contract. You did not agree to it knowingly, but your biology did. And now the weight presses down. Your threshold for satisfaction rises. Your hunger for depth collapses. You are trapped in a cycle where nothing is enough. Pause. Ask yourself, when was the last time you felt a genuine surge of triumph? Not a digital flash, not a fleeting like, not a flicker on a screen, but a victory earned with sweat, struggle, resistance. If your answer takes longer than a few seconds, then the contract has already carved deep into your nervous system. There is an antagonist here, and it is not simply society or the machine. It is your inner addict, That shadow self who craves shortcuts, who whispers that one more glance is harmless, who feeds on crumbs instead of demanding a feast. This shadow thrives on the dopamine contract. Because every time you indulge, the shadow grows stronger, and every time you resist, it shrinks. But make no mistake, resistance is not painless. You are not merely fighting a device, you are fighting your own biology. The brain will resist withdrawal. It will scream, it will demand. It will punish you with restlessness and boredom. These are the teeth of the contract. Break it, and the shadow will howl. This is where most men fall. They attempt to fight, but they expect the war to be short. It is not short. It is a campaign. You will face days of emptiness, hours of silence, minutes that feel stretched into years. And yet it is in these moments, precisely these moments, that the contract can be broken. Because boredom is the crucible where new pathways are forged. Take action. Your first step is not grand. It is not heroic. It is simple. Delay. When the urge comes, do not obey immediately. Wait 2 minutes, just 2. In those 2 minutes, you declare war. You remind the shadow that you are not a servant. 2 minutes becomes 5. 5 becomes 10. Discipline grows in fragments. Resistance sharpens in intervals. The machine thrives on reflex. You must replace reflex with pause. This is your weapon. Every pause cuts a line through the contract. Every delay writes a new clause, one you authored. You must also replace counterfeit dopamine with earned dopamine. Train, sweat, write, build. Each act of creation is a strike against the machine. It will feel harder at first. Of course it will, you have been softened. But hardness returns with repetition, and when it does, you will taste a pleasure the machine cannot simulate, the pleasure of conquest. Remember, the machine pays you in crumbs. Real work pays you in fire. Pause once more. Etch this into memory. The dopamine contract is not broken by accident. It is broken by design, and if you do not break it, it will break you, slowly, softly, with every indulgence until your will is a hollow shell. You must choose. Sign blindly or burn the contract. This chapter closes here. You now understand the enemy's currency. You know how it buys your compliance. You know the shadow within you that craves the counterfeit. Burn the contract or it will consume you. You think you are free, that is the first illusion. Freedom, they told you, means choice. The right to move, to click, to consume, to speak. But what is a choice worth if every option has been pre-selected for you? What is a voice worth if it only echoes within walls you cannot see? This is the cage of the modern man. Invisible bars, cushioned walls. No soldier holds the key because no key exists. The door is wide open. Yet you remain inside, content, distracted, convinced that the cage itself is paradise. Pause. Let that image burn. A bird in a gilded cage sings louder than a bird in the wild. Why? Because it is fed. Because it is safe. Because it has forgotten the sky. Huxley understood this with chilling precision. He warned that tyranny would not arrive with boots and whips, but with entertainment, abundance, and ease. That people would not be dragged into submission. They would walk there willingly, smiling, begging for more. The nightmare is not the prison of pain. The nightmare is the prison of pleasure. This is the illusion of freedom, to be told you may do anything, while the architecture of your environment ensures that you will only do one thing. You may read, but you scroll. You may speak truth, but you mimic slogans. You may love deeply, but you swipe endlessly. Freedom in theory, slavery in practice. The antagonists are not the tyrants in suits, nor the corporations that design algorithms. The true antagonist is your inner prisoner, the self that loves its own chains, the part of you that whispers, "It's fine, this is normal, everyone does it." That whisper is more dangerous than any dictator because it kills rebellion before it begins. Consider Rome in its final centuries. The people were restless and hungry for bread. The rulers gave them both, bread and games, and the empire rotted while the crowds cheered. Men no longer cared about freedom. They cared about spectacle. They traded the battlefield for the circus. They traded citizenship for entertainment. They thought themselves free because no blade was at their throat. But they were slaves in all but name. Pause here. Draw the parallel. Bread and games then. Screens and dopamine now. The empire shifts. The strategy does not. You feel it, even if you resist it. The nagging sense that you are free only to choose between cages. That your attention is not yours. That your desires were shaped, sculpted, engineered by forces you cannot see. But to admit this fully terrifies you, so you push the thought away, you pretend, you choose the easy illusion. The question then is not whether you are free. The question is, do you have the stomach to confront the chains? Because here is the cruel truth. Freedom is not pleasant. It is not soft. It is not comfortable. Freedom is hunger. Freedom is uncertainty. Freedom is the weight of your own choices crushing you because there is no one left to blame. That is why most men do not want it. They want comfort. They want certainty. They want chains disguised as gifts. Nietzsche once said, "The last man blinks." He saw a future where man would no longer seek greatness, but comfort. No longer demand the heights, but accept the ground. The last man would laugh at freedom, calling it chaos. He would smile inside his cage, mocking those who still looked for the sky. Look around you now. Nietzsche's prophecy stands fulfilled. Pause. Hear this. The cage is not built of iron, but of softness. Cushions, screens, endless pleasures. And yet it is harder to break than iron bars because no one wants to leave. Who leaves paradise? Who rejects constant stimulation? Only the mad or the free. The illusion of freedom is maintained by convincing you that suffering is failure, that discomfort is abnormal, that silence is punishment. And so, every time you feel hunger, every time you feel boredom, every time you feel loneliness, you run back to the cage. The machine feeds you. You obey. The illusion persists, but there is a way out. The door is open, but few walk through. Why? Because to walk through is to embrace hunger again, to embrace silence, to embrace uncertainty, to reject the ease of the cage. Here lies the micro rule. Seek silence once per day. Turn everything off, do nothing. 10 minutes at first, then longer. It will feel unbearable at first because the cage has trained you to fear silence. But if you endure, your mind will sharpen. You will hear yourself again. You will taste the raw edge of freedom. Another rule. Deny yourself one comfort daily. Skip a meal. Refuse the device. Walk instead of drive. These small denials build an armor that the cage cannot pierce. The illusion fades when the body remembers its own strength. The enemy here is not external tyrants. It is the part of you that craves comfort more than conquest. That whispers, one more taste, one more scroll, one more hour. That whisper is the song of the cage. Crush it, silence it. Replace it with command. Enough. Pause again. Picture this clearly. A man stands in the center of a shining cage. The door is wide open. Beyond it stretches a vast desert, harsh and unforgiving. Inside, everything glitters. Outside, only hunger and struggle. Which man are you? The one who stays and calls it freedom? Or the one who walks into the desert and builds his own kingdom? The illusion of freedom will not collapse for everyone. Most men will die singing in their cages. That is their fate, but not yours. If you are here listening, your task is different. Your task is to spit out the bread, reject the games, walk through the door, and carry the weight of your own liberty. This chapter ends with a command, not a comfort. Walk through the open door. Do not look back. Look closely. Modern civilization does not run on oil or gold or labor. It runs on addiction, not by accident, not by coincidence, but by design. Every system that surrounds you has learned one rule. A man who cannot stop consuming will consume forever. And in that endless loop, his energy, his time, his money, even his will are drained without protest. This is not conspiracy. This is economy. The marketplace of your desires has been engineered like a casino. Every lever you pull, every screen you touch, every purchase you make is calibrated to feed the same hidden circuit in your brain, the circuit that whispers, more, again. Never enough. Pause here. Let that word echo, never enough. The ancient tyrant demanded obedience with whips. The modern economy demands obedience with dopamine. And the difference is terrifying. You can resist a whip. But can you resist yourself? B.F. Skinner understood this when he built his boxes. He placed pigeons inside, delivering food pellets at unpredictable intervals. The pigeons pecked, waiting, obsessed. They could not stop. They pecked until exhaustion, chained not by iron but by their own compulsion. You are the pigeon now. The pellets are likes, notifications, sales, endless tiny rewards, and the box is everywhere. Huxley's nightmare was not fire and chains, it was pleasure without limit. He foresaw a world where men would be drowned, not in suffering, but in stimulation, where the cage would be padded with silk, not barbed wire. That nightmare is alive, and you are inside it. The antagonists are not nameless corporations. The real antagonist is the addict within, the shadow that craves endlessly, even when full, the part of you that kneels before the altar of instant gratification, demanding worship. If you let it rule, you are no longer a man. You are a servant to your own cravings. Consider Rome once more. Emperors discovered that the crowd was never satisfied with one spectacle. One fight was not enough. One execution was too brief. They demanded more blood, more fire, more cruelty. And so the empire delivered. Addiction became state policy. Until the crowd roared not for justice, not for Rome, but for the next thrill. Today, the Colosseum is digital. The roar is silent, yet the hunger is the same. Pause. Picture this. A man scrolling in the dark, eyes red, back bent, mind numb. He tells himself he will stop in 5 minutes. He never does. That is not entertainment. That is ritual sacrifice. He sacrifices himself. The economy thrives on this cycle. Your time is the raw material. Your attention is the currency. Your addiction is the engine. Every second you give away fuels a machine that grows stronger while you grow weaker. They do not even need to lie. They only need to feed the craving inside you until you beg for more chains. Micro Rule 1. Interrupt the loop. The moment you feel the craving to check, to scroll, to consume, stop. Do nothing. 10 seconds of resistance will remind you, the craving is not you. It is a program running inside you. Break the loop and the program weakens. Micro Rule 2. Reclaim the transaction. Every time you feel the urge to buy, ask, what am I paying with? Not money, with attention, with freedom, with hours of your life. Ask it 3 times out loud. If the cost is too high, walk away. Addiction is powerful because it disguises itself as choice. You tell yourself, I choose this. But the truth is harsher. The choice was made long before you arrived. The algorithm knew your taste. The market knew your weakness. The machine delivered exactly what you cannot resist. Choice becomes theater. Addiction writes the script. Pause again. Imagine a great balance scale. On one side, your focus, your energy, your freedom. On the other, endless pellets of dopamine, cheap, easy, seductive. The scale tips every day. Which side will you feed? Nietzsche warned of men who chase only comfort, who dull their own spirit with indulgence until they collapse into mediocrity. Jung spoke of the shadow, the beast within, that consumes when ignored. Both knew the same truth. Addiction is not external. It is you against yourself. And here is the brutal revelation. The economy of addiction does not care whether you rise or fall. It only cares that you keep feeding it. You can destroy your health, your focus, your relationships. It does not matter. As long as you remain a customer, the system calls you free. But freedom has a cost, and that cost is sacrifice. You cannot slay the addict within by bargaining. You must starve it. You must strip it of its easy food, force it to weaken, force it to beg, and then silence it. Only then does the man rise where the addict once ruled. Final image. A man stands at a table overflowing with food, wine, gold, and screens. Behind him is an open path, harsh and dark. Most men will sit and feast until they rot. The addict within will whisper, stay, eat, enjoy. But one man will push back the table, stand up, and walk into the darkness. That man is free. This chapter closes not with comfort, but with a law. Starve the addict or be devoured by it. There is always a price. Freedom is not given. It is purchased, carved, torn from the flesh of your old self. And the currency is pain. You have walked through the illusions of pleasure, through the traps of the body and the theater of distraction. You have seen how society designs its cage with velvet and gold. But seeing is not enough. Many see, and yet remain prisoners. They open their eyes, then close them again, choosing the dream. Awakening is not a glance, it is a tearing apart. Huxley whispered that most men would not rebel against their servitude because they would love their servitude. The trap is not fear, it is comfort. And here lies the paradox. When you awaken, you do not feel victorious at first. You feel empty. The soft lights go dark. The sweet poisons lose their taste. The illusions crumble. What remains is silence. Pause here. Imagine a room stripped bare. No furniture, no warmth, only the echo of your breath. That is awakening. A cold clarity that strips away everything you once leaned on. The man who cannot endure this silence will run back into the arms of pleasure, like a child begging for the drug that kills him. But the man who endures, he becomes dangerous, because now he cannot be bought. He cannot be manipulated with trivial pleasures. He does not chase the pellet in Skinner's box. He has seen the strings and he has cut them. That man terrifies the system, because a man who cannot be controlled by addiction cannot be controlled at all. Yet make no mistake, the price is high. You will lose people. You will lose comforts. You will be called cold, distant, arrogant, cruel. You will be accused of rejecting what makes life worth living. And perhaps they are right. You are rejecting it. You are rejecting their anesthesia. You are rejecting the endless sedation of the masses. The antagonist in this chapter is not the addict within. That beast has already been starved. The enemy now is society itself. The collective that demands you remain asleep so they do not have to feel the shame of their own chains. They will mock you. They will tempt you. They will whisper, "Come back. It is easier here." And you must walk on, alone. Nietzsche warned of this loneliness. He spoke of the path of the Übermensch, the higher man who breaks from the herd. His warning was clear. When you rise, you will walk in deserts. You will be surrounded by silence. The herd will not follow. And yet, the desert is where transformation happens. The silence is where the sovereign self is born. Micro Rule 1. Embrace exile. Stop seeking approval. Stop begging for validation. When you awaken, expect exile. Welcome it. Walk into it willingly, because only in exile can you discover who you truly are. Micro Rule 2. Build your fortress. Every awakened man must construct inner walls. Walls of discipline. Walls of clarity. Walls of silence. Without them, the world will flood back in. Fortress is not isolation. It is sovereignty. You let in what strengthens and you shut out what weakens. The price of awakening is that you will never again enjoy the illusions like before. You cannot unknow. You cannot re-enter the dream. You cannot laugh at the circus once you see the blood on the floor. You are forever changed. And yes, that change feels heavy. But within that heaviness lies power. Pause again. Imagine standing on a cliff at night, looking down at a city glowing with neon and fire. Below, millions are dancing, drinking, consuming, laughing. They look alive, but they are asleep. You stand alone, the wind tearing at you, the silence pressing down. It feels lonely, but above you the stars burn. That is the trade, the false light of the city for the eternal light of the sky. Huxley, Nietzsche, Jung, they all warned in different voices. The shadow will consume you if ignored. The herd will drown you if followed. The pleasure will rot you if indulged. The man who wants to awaken must burn his bridges. He must set fire to the ships of comfort and sail only into the unknown. And here is the last truth. Most will not pay this price. They will prefer comfort. They will kneel in the cage and call it freedom. They will swallow the drug and call it happiness. They will rot with a smile. and you must let them. Because awakening is not collective, it is individual. You save yourself, or you are not saved at all. Final image. A man stands at the threshold of a burning world. Behind him, the pleasure palace collapses, the walls of addiction shatter, the voices of the crowd fade into nothing. Before him stretches a long, endless road, black and silent. He takes one step forward, then another. Each step is heavy, but unbreakable. And as he walks, he feels it. The weight of chains gone. The burden of illusion lifted. Pain remains. Silence remains. But in that silence he hears for the first time his own voice, and that voice says, "You are free."